So, welcome, welcome, welcome. It's been a
Time
long time coming. We've been trying to do this for a while, right?
for a little while, yes.
And I think that it's kind of cool. Like, we have been Black women doing it, okay, all of it,
All of the
and
things.
but we've had these conversations, and it's definitely time. So, welcome to Chestnut Checkers,
This
a
is
political conversation between Black women, amongst Black women in Long Beach, and we're going to talk about Long Beach politics and beyond.
and beyond.
Yes, ma'am.
Just a welcome and a thank you for being present live in our community, live with whoever felt like coming on to engage in this conversation with us, with Cami, with Sheila, with Z, the SEO queen, and with Melissa.
Just a welcome and a thank you. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
I'm hearing a little echo there.
oh yeah, no worries.
We're gonna ground us a little bit in some of the things that we're gonna cover tonight. But before we do, first things first, Cami.
Yes. We're going to ground in the message, and it's a vibration. Um, because we have been affected in so many ways of the tragedies that we've had over the last years, 3 years at least, through COVID. And what's happening right now in Buffalo, we need to take a moment to really reflect and bring those love and vibrations to now our ancestors that were affected by the tragedies in Buffalo. Um, we send our forever prayers, and that love will surround the families that have been affected um, with this tragedy.
Ashe.
I say, um,
So, with
one of,
that,
yeah, like one of the things, even before jumping into these topics, is like what just moved me is some things around like how well we're doing right now, or how well some of us are not doing right now, right? Our
mm-hmm,
socio emotional health, our emotional and mental well being. Um, it's a thing, right? I think about feeling numb sometimes. I think about the desensitization that we're in from witnessing, observing, experiencing the amount of state violence that we know too often is steeped in white supremacy, right? But whatever it's stemming from, it's a lot. And so
right,
just acknowledging that we're entitled to show up however we need to show up,
yeah.
right? We're showing up, but show up how you want and how you need to show up.
And we're showing up today. So, I would like to first introduce who's on this call, and everybody can go around. Let's start with my favorite fire starter. She is in my phone. Favorite fire starter. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I am Sheila Bates, aka Cammy's favorite fire starter, and I use pronouns she, her, hers.
Yes, Melissa.
Hey, I'm Melissa Morgan, and my pronouns are she, her, and her as well. And I'll pass it on to Z.
Hello, everyone. My name is Z Scott, and I'm here as a member of the community, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
And we'll pass it along to me because I said it. No, my name is Cami
Ooh,
Johnson.
Tammy, you're the queen in front of there.
Yes, I am the Duchess of Long Beach. That's what people have been calling me, the Duchess. Funny. But what I am, I'm a community leader, and I take that title very seriously because I believe in our community. I believe in the strength of our people. We are the people, and we need to hold those who are in positions accountable. And my pronouns are she, her, hers. And I'll pass it on to Queen Monkins.
You were going to do that. Hey, everybody. Welcome again. Dawn Motkins. Just here as a mama, as a Black woman, as somebody who cares deeply about my city, who cares about the push out that's been happening amongst folks who I grew up with, went to school with here. So yeah, thanks again for checking in with us, for chiming into this conversation tonight. The purpose is, part of the purpose for tonight is to be encouraging all of us to be having these conversations, these political conversations about decisions that are being made that affect us deeply, that affect our families, that affect our children, that affect our cities, our neighborhoods, our communities. It's a political conversation, right? What it's not, this is not necessarily the place where we're throwing out all the receipts, all the facts, all the things. There are places for that. So we'll do some of that, but this is really about how we're feeling about what's happening. These are our opinions. These opinions are not representative of any particular organization. This also isn't like nonprofit space, right? Or 501c3 or 501c4. Like, we are just here being us, and which means we might talk about some candidates. We might talk about the mudslinging that's going on between the candidates. We're gonna cover a little bit about these various political races that are going on, the mayoral race, the congressional race, the sheriff races, the mudslinging between it all. A little bit about our community and the unity that's been being built in various ways over just these few years, right? And where we want to continue to be building that community. A little bit about this wealth gap. We are in a class war. Literally, billionaire developers and the state, through police and their police associations, are bankrolling these political campaigns, throwing so much money into making sure that developers and police have seats in these political offices. We saw it in 2nd District in Long Beach. We're seeing it now with the mayor's race. Pay attention, y'all. And just a host of various topics that each of us will bring to the table tonight. Chime in, ask questions. We'll bring them in as best we can. And so, Cammie.
Yes,
How
ma'am.
do you want to kick this off?
Let's start with one thing that I've had quite an issue with. And that is our political campaigns that have been happening for our mayoral race. I think it's a little, I mean, everyone has a decision in what they want to choose. They've, maybe they've properly vetted the candidate and maybe they haven't. Maybe it's a popularity contest for them, or they're just going with what they know. But either way it goes, everyone has a choice to, vote for whoever they want to, but there has to be some type of check when it comes to the messaging that's going out into the public. My background is in politics too, but also I'm a publicist and graphic designer, and I look at everything. And the one thing that has disturbed my peace is this flyer that was so beautifully posted by our own Queen Monkins. Let's look at it. I think we have it up, right? Yeah.
I don't see anything.
I don't see anything yet. Let's see it. Bam.
There it is.
Okay. So let's first reflect. Let's take a step.
I mean, look at it. Don't let Rex Richardson defund our, it's a little distant for me, our
Long Beach Police.
Our Long Beach. First of all, Rex ain't never said he was going to defund anything. We were like, do you have to be on we have to have this conversation about how we're divesting from a carceral state and investing in our community's well-being, our community health, resources. Like, He's never been on a defund bandwagon. So this, first of all, is an outright lie.
No, and what's really at the heart of it is that, I mean, it's not like Rex didn't ask for political funds from the POA himself, but
or voted to give them more money.
Back, he just wasn't selected. He was selected. He wanted those funds, of course. Anybody, running wants some money, but he went for it, and they chose Susie Price. So this is the signage that is going out, paid for by the Committee for Safe and Strong Long Beach.
I wonder who makes up that committee.
Well, wait, finish reading the rest of it. It actually continues. It's a really long name.
Yes, it is.
Paid for
supporting Susie Price for Mayor 2022 and opposing Rex Richardson Mayor 2022. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a lot that could be said about these political PACs that fund things. Oftentimes, the candidates have to approve a lot of what they put out. I don't know if I want to necessarily get into that. What I do want to get into is how this looks. Yes. What I do want to get into is the intent behind. Look at this image. What are those spots around Rex's name?
Those are bullets, Dawn.
Bullet holes.
Oh, what is bullets?
Shots
500.
What is bullets for 500? Can I just chime in here?
Yes, please.
As a voter, this is the first time I've seen this, and I find this disturbing. And as a city official, I'm on the redistricting commission. I'm shocked to see this happening in this city. I'm shocked, but not shocked. And that's all I wanted to say. This is my first time seeing this.
I got some words.
This came out. So folks were hitting me up like, hey, have you seen this sign posted? Other folks were saying it was only circulating on social media. It looks like it's posted outside on a pole to me. So clearly it's been posted someplace.
Even if it was on social media, the bullets are there.
Exactly. This came out, I think it was about 4 days right after the killings in Buffalo.
Okay.
So how you gonna play with threatening somebody with bullet shots with a promotion for yourself that's funded by the Police Officers Association? Like straight up, it feels like police are threatening Rex. That's what it feels like to me, honestly.
And the thing about it is, if this visual, because color means everything in design. We know this, right, Melissa? Color means everything. You're talking about putting red, the brightest blood red with bullet holes next to the name Rex Richardson, who happens to be a Black man running for mayor. Can I get the emoji now?
I mean, marketing, we know that marketing's all about feeling, getting people to feel something. So when folks see this, they're feeling afraid. It's triggering. They're feeling scared. They're thinking about violence. If you see a Black man's name next to the bullets, you're going to make some connection there. I mean, if we were to turn it around, we could think about what happens when we don't defund the police. Then we've got these bullets shot at us as Black people. That's not what the majority of folks are thinking, but these colors definitely represent a lot. They represent violence. And I was looking back at old images of caricatures over the years of Black folks and just what makes a Black person look and seem scary. Because Susie, the people that are in support of her, they're plotting this method. They're saying, yes, let's scare the shit out of our community because they need to know that we need police because it's scary out here in Long Beach because we have homeless people and Black people and all of that stuff, right? And that's what they're communicating. It's clear.
Yeah, and also let's also pull some receipts and think about what's actually been happening in the city, right? How did Rex Richardson actually vote when it came to funding the police? What did he actually end up doing?
To fund them?
He voted to give them more money. So this is not only is it an attack on him and a threat to him, but it's also a bold-faced lie.
It's a bold-faced lie, and it's also it's the message that many people that are in white supremacist circles utilize so that they can scare the bejesus out of white voters so that they can say, I gotta vote against this guy.
Yeah, it's a narrative of fear mongering, and I'm not surprised that it's coming from Susie Price, to be honest. But it's interesting to me because I know that recently she had been trying her best to garner up and muster up some connection in Black community. Whatever connection she might have had, from my ear to the ground with some folks who were considering her are now not. And I'm like, if this is what it took, she shot herself in the foot. No pun intended.
Yes. No, it's a pun intended in that one.
Pun intended. With that. So
Yes.
yeah.
So yeah. And then I'm concerned because yes, D. Andrews is supporting another Black man, and he's supporting this person. But I know that it's not something that people don't want to recognize publicly, but it's publicly said that D. Andrews has been supporting this campaign for Susie. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that. And the thing about it is that I'm not here to like try to convince Black people not to vote for Susie. I want Black people to look at the record. And I want people to look at what she has done. And I want people to look at who she is before they make a decision like, well, she's not Rex, so I think I need to vote for her. That's not what you need to do. What you need to do is look at your values and think about what you have for your own families and make your decision from there. Does this message align with your values?
Susie's profession coming out of the Orange County District Attorney's Office was clear and on display in her role.
You said who came what?
Me?
You said she came out. Susie, you said Susie Price. She
coming out of the Orange County District Attorney's Office. Yeah, like her work and her values were on clear display in her role on the Budget Oversight Committee on City Council, when she was making clear arguments to fund police and to not be open to really looking at how we're reimagining safety in our city. Our community has told us that safety means housing, safety means accessible, healthy food, safety means tending to our mental health care needs in our community by folks who are trauma informed and culturally informed, not by responding with men and women who are trained to kill, right? She wasn't open to it at all. So her stance in her positioning with the state on more police and being wedded to this narrative of, I don't know how to describe this, y'all, like this narrative of using fear mongering, using crime to say, like, oh, the world is, these crazy people are gonna destroy us if we don't put more police on the street, right? Like that narrative, that frame of thinking is she's exhibited that's where she is.
Can I hop in here real quick? When you talk about violence and gun control and just this is a sign, I think we really need a community that has a culture of togetherness. Like we need to not be, expanding, punitive methodologies in our community. I mean, we are rational human beings. And I think part of the problem with a lot of these shootings is a lot of people are frustrated and nobody's listening to anybody. And this lack of listening, this lack of integrity, for Susie as a member of the community to, in good conscience, knowing she was sitting right there when Rex voted, this isn't really neighborly. I just want to see, integrity, community. I want to see more values like this. and people, having a discourse about the issues in a respectful community building manner. And it requires respect and listening and really seeing other people's perspectives. I mean, this is really important. And I think, this white supremacist, cis hetero patriarchal view and approach to society is played out and is crumbling before our eyes. I think when you look at, the togetherness, I was in Jamaica in April, and just seeing how friendly and conversational people were. I mean, just complete strangers stopping me on the street to talk. And it was just like, it was amazing. It's like we have so many resources. We're so blessed in this country, but yet we do not act like it. We do not see each other. We don't treat each other right. And this has to stop.
Yeah. And with all that said, let me just say, Susie, what you're not going to do is put bullet holes on a poster with a black man's name on it.
So
that's what you're not going to do. Not on our watch. Not on these black women's watch, and not in this community. This is unacceptable, and you need to talk to your people, because that's not what you're going to do.
A public apology at the least.
At the very least.
At the least.
It's the white supremacist, cis hetero patriarchal for me. Like I can't. Yeah.
I think she should drop out of the race for it. Anyway.
Anyway.
Anyway, so
anyways, yes.
You know what else?
Moving on.
What's that, Sheila?
She ain't gonna get my vote.
Not either.
As one elected official, as a city official, I was appointed. I'm shocked and appalled. And appalled.
Yeah. It's
and appalled.
There has to be some basic principles and ethics that you would think that they should have to operate.
Rules of engagement.
And then when you don't, you should be out. She should be out.
Absolutely. But also, let's look at her record too. Let's remember her record. Did she vote for Claudia's law?
No.
She's not here for the people. She is here working with developers.
Talking about developers. Did she vote when she's talking all about homelessness? Did she vote to actually take care of any homelessness? And did she actually vote to address that issue when it came up?
Oh, what she said.
And she also voted against tenant protections.
She said some people want to be homeless.
She voted against tenant protection, so more people would become homeless because they could not afford housing. As gentrification takes place, as she allows more and more developers to come in and take more and more land and push more and more folks out in the middle of a pandemic when people are struggling financially. Does that make any sense? Should she be leading this city?
Hey y'all, so check it out. There's some great comments in the chat. Reportedly someone else is saying works for Susie, but he looks like a black man in his picture, and he's saying that this is one-sided conversation and a Rex commercial. What y'all have to say about that?
That's a good one. That's a real good one, because no, it's not a Rex commercial. Absolutely not. We're not here to promote one person or another. We are here to inform you that this is the mudslinging that's going on in our city. And at the end of the day, when you see bullet holes over a black man's name, we have to say something about that.
Period.
And not only that, but also none of us said that we're voting for Rex Richardson. Because let's be real, like Rex Richardson has not earned my vote. Rex Richardson, I wish he would vote to defund the police. I wish that was his platform, but it's not.
No,
and I'm struggling with who I'm going to vote for. I'll tell you who's not getting my vote. It's not Susie Price. It's not Franklin Sims. And it's not a former cop Republican. I'll tell you, it's not those folks. It's not Rodriguez, right?
No.
Now I'm deciding between a few other candidates, but I'll tell you who I'm not voting for as an individual.
Right.
So missed us with the comment. All right. Okay. Can we talk about a candidate who does look appealing? Right. So we're going to just touch on these political races a little bit more, and we'll move on from them after. But there's a candidate who does look appealing, and then we're going to talk about the sheriff's race. Okay. This guy.
Now, this is a commercial.
Who has met this guy? Who has met this guy?
I have talked to him, but I have not met him.
Anyone else meet him?
Oh yeah, I met the Rev.
Give us a little spiel on this guy.
Okay, the Rev is for he's serve the people is like the epitome of who he is. He is a man of his word. He is running against the seat against our beloved mayor of Long Beach, not. But he has a really good message, and that is that he is not taking corporate funds. He is for the people. What he's doing is look at his family. Look at the family. He is for getting funding from the people, and even those that have said, "Hey, you can get money from this person and this person and that person," and he's like, if they believe in me, I want them to support me. Of course, he needs the help. And of course, but what he wants to do is he just wants to serve the people. What the people want, he wants. And he has a kind heart. He's a good-hearted person. And I had this conversation with him too. I've had a very troubled past with religious organizations. And I said, I have a hard time voting for anyone that's part of any religious organization, including a reverend. And he broke it down to me. He didn't say like, well, just come to my church and you'll see. He said, I understand because you have been abused by the church. And it's understandable that you would feel that way. But his thing is this. He really wants to fix something. And the only way he's going to do it is running for this position in Congress. And he has a great platform. So many things that he's answered that was so perfect. Like they asked him if he was a feminist. He said, no. I'm a womanist. I'm for women because feminism was rooted in not supporting Black women in those messages. And I support all women. But I'm not, oh no, I'm not a feminist. I am for women. So he had a really great message. He's a good person, and I've met him a few times. So
I did a little bit of phone banking with his team.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting, the few phone calls, I don't know, probably about 10 or so calls one morning we made. And people on the phone were saying, thank you. A few of them had heard from him. Other folks had not yet. But the ones, a few folks were like, Mayor Robert Garcia,
soon to be former,
not. I don't know if it's going to be Congressperson. I don't know. He's supported. He's held by the political machine, right? Robert Garcia is held by the political machine, by the Democratic Party. I don't know that has to guarantee his spot. With Somerville, with Reverend William Somerville, being a grassroots guy, he is in the churches. He is everywhere, literally, and also understands the party system. But what I appreciated is folks on the phones were saying that they felt like Robert Garcia has been a puppet, has been a straight puppet for the party, for our city manager structure, and feels like he has failed in many ways as a mayor, and do not want to see him fail up, do not want to see him be that puppet in that congressional seat. One other thing I appreciated about Somerville that I've been hearing him talk about is the work that he's doing around housing, and specifically around unhoused community. He himself had been unhoused at one point and was able to recover through resources and support by his community. That spoke volumes to me. His story, his experiences, and for people who, do have like I don't know, interest in I'm surprised I'm about to say this, but I am going to share this about him. He's done a lot of sensitivity training work and human relations work with the Sheriff's Academy of Orange County also. Right. And so he has an approach in how to manage and muddle through the other side, right? For me, I'm calling it the other side, the state side. I have that opinion. Not everyone does. He certainly has experience and also working with them in those ways. So yeah, he's straight up my candidate. Like I'm in my own personal hat, right? I'm not in my LA Voice hat. I'm not in a BLM hat or a Black Agency hat. In my personal hat, this is the candidate I'm voting for. That's for sure. I made calls for him. Um, yeah, people I'm coming across appreciate his
Mhm.
work, his experience. Yeah.
And Z, you had something to say.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, my experience with candidate Somerville has been very positive. Um, he's consistent, and I definitely think he'd be a great representative to Congress. And this is a federal office, so I can speak on it. And I definitely share the sentiment with Don that he's earned my vote, and I just love the fact that he's a bridge builder, and he's collaborated with Hindus. I think the organization is Hindus in America, and he's been very active in healthcare, even now with the nationwide healthcare campaign that he's collaborating with them on for $25 for a physician's um, examination and a test, blood test, a complete workup. And so I think that should be under events on his website, the healthcare campaign. Yeah, there's been a lot of themes. Yeah, the single payer health fair initiative with Hindus for America. Yep, and that was awesome. And I mean, I think just seeing the culture in Capitol Hill, we definitely need somebody who's approachable, that is willing to listen to the people, and he really has a servant's heart. So that's what we
Amen.
need.
Yeah, I'm excited about him as a candidate, and I'm definitely voting for him. I can't vote for him, but I'm pushing for him to be voted for. He is. I'm doing everything in the background I possibly could do because he
Oh,
doesn't
can you
cover my
stop right
location.
there? Someone
Yeah.
had a question about what his stance is on. Hold on, let me make sure I get the question correctly. What is the Rev's position on LGBT rights? So if you could, is there a little bit more information there?
Tell them to go to SomervilleForCongress.com, y'all. For folks who are following, go to SomervilleForCongress.com. Check out his full website.
Go to the platform section and you'll see all of his stances.
Yeah, there
And
you
I
go.
have on the screen that he does talk about a commitment to serving people that identify as LGBTQ as well as other identities.
Yeah.
Yeah. So who we're not going to vote for is Luna. I'll tell you that.
Wait, you mean wrong race?
This is how the conversations go.
Oh, can we go into that? Can we go into that?
They the same.
Can we go into that? Sheila, I know, like, come on.
Ooh.
Sheila, you got the sheriff's race down. You've been fighting this for a while. Like, you've been in the trenches. You got your gloves on still. Like,
No. The gloves aren't even on anymore. The gloves are off, sis.
Well, wait, first, before I even start that, let me show you a little something that I received in the mail that I can't even show my daughter. Okay. This do you see it? Do you see it, people?
Oh my gosh. Whew. Wow.
The imagery.
That's what I got in the mail. They go deep. And I was like, okay, talk about this and what does this mean? Because I don't follow the sheriff's race as closely as you do. Because you're clacking your neck, you ready, right?
I'm ready. You
Let's
said
go.
gloves on.
Let's
No,
go
the
in.
gloves are off, Cammie. Gloves
Let's
are off.
Go it in.
Villanueva is oftentimes you hear him referred to as the Trump of LA, right? And that's exactly what he is. He fooled a whole bunch of folks in the last election, and some progressive orgs backed him. And most of them are not backing him this time, that's for sure. And we know that under his watch, more people died while in custody and while in LA County jails, which is a part of his jurisdiction. We know that numerous people have been killed by the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department under his watch. We know that sheriff gangs have been exploding under his watch. And we know that every time when he's asked to show his arms because it's believed that he's a member of a gang him darn self, he refuses to ever show his arms. They are always covered. What you hiding over there, Villanueva? And also, let's make it clear, too, that he has refused to respond to the Board of Supervisors. He's refused to, even really engage in the process for the Civilian Oversight Commission for the Sheriff's Department. And we know that he is not worthy of our vote. But let me make this clear, too, though, that nobody should be sheriff because that position should not exist. But there are two people who really should not be sheriff. Can two guess? Any guesses who it might be?
Well, we already know it's Alex for 500.
That's one of them, and the other one is good old Luna. Good old Luna, who, again, talking about allowing folks to fail up, right? People are trying to let Robert Garcia fail up, and now they want to let Luna fail up. If Luna and Garcia failed Long Beach, which they did, why are we going to allow them to seek higher office? Does that make any sense? Let's think about what's happened under Luna's watch. We have Tiger Text.
So how do
we have multiple murders?
Who do we vote for? Because you tell me who to vote for, I'm voting for it.
I cannot say with any sort of ethical conviction who to vote for sheriff, because again, I don't think that that position should exist. But I'll tell you who I'm not voting for. I'm not voting for Rambo. I'm not voting for Villanueva, and I'm not voting for Luna. But real quick, let's run down Luna's record of why he should not be able to be the sheriff, right? Yeah. We have Tiger Text. Mm-hmm. We have multiple murders by Long Beach Police Department. We have multiple, there was also a sex scandal with child pornography. There was also, they were engaged in the same message. One of the officers in Long Beach Police Department was engaged in the same text messaging scandal that Torrance Police Department got caught up in, that now has the DOJ and in the AG's office breathing down their neck. They were caught up in that. There are also multiple.
Wait, Sheila, I'm sorry, friend. I know it's just a conversation. 1 second. Melissa, we got our girl Z back there. Can you bring her in? Thanks. All right.
We also know that he, in the midst of the uprisings, right? People were out on the streets and a person brought their child to the protest and an officer aimed a gun at that child. It was a less than lethal weapon, but it was still a weapon that has caused serious harm to people. And it was aimed right at that child. And instead of Luna saying that, that was wrong, or even acknowledging any of it, what he said is that father should have been charged with abuse and neglect for taking his child to a protest. Mm-hmm. That is downright disgusting. And we have the Check LBPD website up, right? We also know that the budget has exploded under Luna's watch, right? We know that he's failed Long Beach. So why should we allow him to fail up to LA County? He's not going to be any better than Villanueva. And let's also make it perfectly clear that that office has been rich with corruption, much like every other department. And Bach is sitting in jail. Just saying.
Yeah. This I'm speechless.
I remember.
No. Okay.
Why you get that together?
Because Luna has been the worst thing that's ever happened in Long Beach to me, and the worst. With regards to our budget, the way they treat children, the charges against them with child pornography and all that other. It's the worst that could happen. And he was put in a position that I can say at times will, they control the city council, especially when it comes down to budget. And they have a lot to say. The city council, that as it stands, has been, just been a puppy dog to the Long Beach Police Department. And we have now someone who has basically ran our city into the ground, Luna, and he's running for sheriff. Come on, man. Go. We're not voting for you. Luna was the one I wasn't voting for. But I was really encouraging this flipping the bird. I really do that often. So I thought that was along the lines of what I usually run for. So now that you tell me that Alex is out, okay, fine.
Rumor has it Luna's press conference when he was announcing that he was running for sheriff got disrupted. I couldn't imagine who might have been involved in that.
I promise you, it wasn't me this time. It wasn't me.
It was me. Audrina was there too.
My favorite. Okay, everyone, my favorite fire starter.
I mean, we can't continue to allow status quo, right? Under his watch, I think there were the most officers that had the most record for violent acts, for officer-involved shootings, for killing people. They were often also the most awarded, the most rewarded, the highest paid, offered the most overtime, like rewarding violent officers. The hell, we are not going that way, Luna. That shit is that's over. It's over. So yeah. So when we have to disrupt the status quo, that's been the status quo. Disrupt it.
You know what else has been a status quo? He was the one who brought forth the motion so that they could actually destroy records just before 1421 went into law. Remember that, y'all?
Yeah. Tell people what 1421 is.
1421 was the California Right to Know Act, and that finally gave Californians the right to be able to access some police records. And just before it went into, it was enacted, they voted to destroy the records dating back, what was it, like 15 years?
Like their most violent years. Their most violent years. The years they killed Tyler Woods.
Carlos said it was 23 years. Thank you.
The years they murdered Tyler Woods, the year they murdered Dante Jordan.
And let's also remember that Chief Luna was in charge when Long Beach was listed as one of the 5 most deadly police departments in the country.
We definitely don't want to ask Sean King about our Long Beach Police Department.
Oh, that's a whole nother scandal that was involved.
Whole nother.
And Luna didn't do anything about that either.
No, not at all. So no, Luna, we're not voting for you. And guess what? I want to put this out here too. Talking about unity on the lines of like what Z is talking about. You have to understand, Black women typically vote in unison 9 times out of 10. So you're looking at the demographic right now of our voters, and we talk, and that's for the reason for this discussion is that we're putting this out to let you guys know that we do talk, we are knowledgeable, we do speak on these things, we check the facts, we bring the receipts, and we bring the tea. So let's talk about what's happening, Melissa, about the school shootings, because I know that we have a race for school board, and you have some information, or at least to talk about.
Down.
And yeah, let us know.
You know what? I'm not going to say much, except that we could get some great representation in North Long Beach for maybe the first time ever, having a school board member who's all about equity and from North Long Beach, which we know is a very underserved community. So I'll put in the chat later some links. We do have several women of color who are running for school board in my district where I live in North Long Beach.
Name them.
I don't know all their names. I only know 2. So I happen to know Sharifa Batts is running.
Yes, I know Sharifa. I've met her. She was beautiful. Love her.
And one of my favorite people in the world, Nubia.
I love Nubia too. We were in and NLB together.
Yeah.
Neighborhood Leadership Program, NLP class of 2017.
Mhm.
And she's a great human being.
Yeah, I really got to know Nubia through our work volunteering as moms in the school district's equity leadership team, which was really a struggle emotionally to advocate for our Black kids in particular, because this was, around the timing after George Floyd was murdered. And as a member of BLM, we were demanding that the school district respond and be communicative around issues of equity and COVID and looking at what's happening economically for Black people, looking at what was going on with the racial uprisings. And so Nubia was there really advocating for Black kids to be centered, as well as students with disabilities. And I learned from her just that intersectionality that exists between the kids who look like us as Black kids and being pushed into programs for kids with disabilities. And then just a greater impact for kids of color who are students with disabilities. So she's a huge equity advocate and champion, and a champion for parents. She engages parents through organizing. So you might guess who I might vote for. So that's one of those cases, like the race card. It's not about the race issue. I definitely really look at Black candidates to see who are they, what are they about. In this case, I know what this woman brings. I also wanted to talk a little bit about the school shooting stuff, in addition to the elections, and thinking about, how do these candidates, how do they see embracing school safety? I saw Christopher Covington is in the chat. He was watching us tonight. He and Kim and Jarlene have worked on spearheading the Safer LBUSD campaign to get school resource officers with guns off campus, get the guns off the campus. I believe that's still what's being promoted. And, it just pushes people, I think, to look at how can we have a safe school without police? And when you think about what just happened with these kids in their school and the police with the guns, they couldn't have they didn't prevent anything from happening. They stalled, right?
They went in and saved their own kids and allowed other kids to be slaughtered. All while babies were sitting there doing what they were trained to do and what they were told to do, calling 911, and no one was coming in to help them.
Pretty scary. And when we have those things happen in our country and within our consciousness, right? We feel the pain as moms, for those of us who are moms or aunties, godmoms, we can feel that. There's a lot of fear there. And I think it takes courage to be able to think beyond a police officer for what can keep our schools safe. I don't know. There's a lot of conversation happening online that I'm seeing around it. I'm glad that people are really looking closer at this thought that police do not keep us safer. And that, if we defunded the police and reinvested that money in other places around mental health, for example, some great things could happen in our communities.
Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty simple on the surface, right? Like bringing back arts and music and other programs in schools that you hope would deter at least other students from showing out, right? Y'all remember that incident? I think it was I don't know if it was New Orleans, somewhere in the South, where there was like an influx of fighting going on campus.
Yes.
And so teachers or staff administration, like they were just calling the cops because that's what people have been conditioned to do, right? Somebody's outside laughing too hard, call the cops. I don't know, right? It's a fight, call the cops. Like people don't know how to break up a fight these days or figure out what the root of the issue is and help support those students, right? So they're calling the cops. And I think they said like over a 2-week span or so, or 2 to 3 weeks, something like that, there were like over 20 students. What were the grades? Was this a middle school or a high school? I don't recall offhand. But over like 23, something like that, students who were arrested. So now they've got records.
Right.
Now they've got juvenile records.
For a schoolyard fight. Yeah.
For a schoolyard. How many of y'all got in a fight at school? I did.
Sorry, I probably would have gotten arrested several times.
Everybody here. It's a fight like in elementary school. And that's what we're with the staff to be like equip folks to be able to deal with these things, right? So, and what happened? What did they do? Dads showed up. The
Yeah.
dads showed up with their coffee in hand, with their donuts in hand, or whatever snacks they were bringing. Remember, they just eating in the
Yes.
house.
And no fighting.
But the parents were present, right? So whether it's present parents, whether, pay people, those are potential jobs.
Right.
Let parents, right, who can be trauma informed and culturally informed, be the ones to help tend to some safety, right? And so I commend and appreciate Chris, Kim, and Jarlene for holding that space down in response to Mona being murdered by a school security officer. We have to keep that work up. We have to continue to support that work. I know that I think I saw one of them post the court hearings about to come up for the officer who killed her, the security officer who killed her. So folks should pay attention to that coming up and support in the ways that you can around that.
I wanted to share, I watched a video, a mom of a kid who was killed in, I want to say, the Newtown shooting. She started a nonprofit where she talks about what it takes to have safer schools. And this was the model she shared. I thought it was interesting to look at the visual of the things that have to happen for schools to be safer. So look, this is the same in our community. We need mental and behavioral health support, right? Health and wellness. There needs to be physical safety looked at, climate and culture. This one's a big ding, 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 community engagement. Like these school safety issues and any issue around safety and health and community well-being, it's about us as community. We're all connected. And then there's the emergency management piece. But I thought this was interesting that how she laid this out. We've got an equity policy in the city. We've been pushing for restorative justice and more counselors, just like maybe the LCAP and the Safer LBOSD campaign, all of these, things that are happening that parents might need to know about to be better engaged and aware of where the money goes in the school district, what the priorities are. And the same can go for our community. It's a community issue.
I love this framework, and the climate and culture and community engagement piece are really important. And I think not only in Long Beach but just communities across the country, we have to move away from just this emergency management piece. Leaning on that, the community engagement, for children, I think it goes into self-expression, music, sports, all these outlets, artistic expression that provides an outlet and a platform for students to express themselves. This is very important. I know when I was coming through school, I started playing violin at Bixby in fourth grade, and I still play the violin to this day. And it had a huge impact on me in terms of, my mental health and also engaging in the community. It takes a community to come together to put together a concert and to view a concert, and then just the feeling of achievement when you master another skill is just it's just really important, and our kids should definitely have that opportunity. And so I think there needs to be more opportunities for artistic expression across the country and in our schools.
Cops don't belong anywhere. They sure as heck don't belong on school campus with babies.
Yes, we've learned that just this year with the shooting that happened at Milliken High School. We need to reevaluate what their purpose is by chasing someone down and shooting them. It's
Hey, Melissa, were there some voting numbers that you wanted to share?
she's like, no, not at all. Well, I know Z wanted to talk about our community coming together and what are her thoughts on that. And we shared some, conversation about, why we're here in this conversation as Black women who are voters, who are engaging in our community individually. What is your thoughts on how our community can come together?
Yeah, I think, when you talk about community, I think there's a lot of great things that individual organizations are doing. And, I think this would be a great project for, Black Agency in collaboration with the African American Center of Long Beach and the Greater Harvest church. It has to be a multi-dimensional private public partnership within the community to disseminate and share information. This is really important because we can't, as a community, start engaging and talking to each other each election cycle. There needs to be a consistent dialogue so that we have institutional memory of things that have been done, so we don't recreate the wheel, don't lose sight of what has worked. I know that Pastor Johnson at Greater Harvest has an open invitation to the community for those who want to collaborate, creating different programs. I've been working closely with him on that. We're doing a prayer, 24 hours of prayer in the LA starting Thursday morning at the Bonnie Bray House. And this Sunday is Pentecost Sunday. But I think, just in general, I would love to see, something that comes out of this election season, just more communication, more dialogue, people just, texting people, saying, texting information, saying, passing on, because there's so much great things happening in Long Beach. And my desire is for us to just stay more connected. So, we all feel supported in our efforts to build community and to share information and resources. One great thing that came out of the pandemic was the Black Mamas chat. I always love seeing, shares to that chat. And that was a great way to disseminate information. We need more platforms and outlets like that where we can, put that information out and connect with each other. I think that's really important.
That's true.
Well, go ahead.
No, I was just, Z was already making me think about, I think we wanted to kind of let this flow a little bit. We're an hour in. I think there are certainly more things that we can share about things that are happening. Mm-hmm. There's a host of things if we want to shift to that as we're starting to come to a little close here. I'm excited about this chess, not checkers, this conversation. Melissa, I'm thinking about let me say this first, Z's point about churches. So in my LA Voice hat, for those of you know, a year ago, I went back to doing some faith-based community organizing work. And
I remember that.
Oh, that was like 17 years ago. That was a long time ago. ICO no longer exists. It was Long Beach, Greater Long Beach Community Organization, ICO, right? And so ICO kind of dissolved or merged with LA Voice, and they're part of this national organization called Faith in Action. Part of each state has its own formation. In California, it's Pico, California. And so we're now functioning countywide with LA Voice that includes the entire county. And so our churches, let me just say something about churches right quick. Greater Harvest, yes. Chosen Generation, yes. There are some clergy people who are about their people. There are some clergy people who are about empowering their flock. There are some who are about empowering themselves, just gonna say it. There are some that rather be most aligned with the establishment more so than they're aligned with the conditions that their flock is grappling with. I'm gonna say it. And so I enjoy working with those that are about empowering their community, organizing their congregations, right, and not politicizing, but providing that education so that folks can decide on their own about the things that are moving politically and what and how they want to engage in those things as education, right, as we should be. And so I enjoy working with those types of clergy leaders. And for the last several months, they've been in this conversation across the county, y'all. We have had over 2,000 conversations about what the top priorities are that our communities have been grappling with coming out of COVID. What are our families struggling with? What are those challenging conversations that folks are having around their dinner tables like we are tonight? What are folks' greatest sources of hope right now, right? What is keeping folks motivated, inspired, encouraged to continue every day through all of the, I don't want to say the word I usually say, through all of the fuck shit that It goes on in the world. Like it's what it is, right? And it's like, so what are people's greatest sources of hope? Over 2,000 conversations, y'all. So, and with that, there's going to be, following that, there's going to be a series of research actions around the things that we're hearing most from people. And the top thing that folks are talking about is housing and being pushed out, building housing, affordable housing, protection around housing, production of housing. And for the churches, you know, these developers are really pushing to get themselves and the state being police funded by these POAs in these political positions, right? They did this in 2020 with Cindy Allen in District 2 as a former cop.
The current didn't even live in Long Beach.
And didn't even live in Long Beach, right? Currently, we got a person running for mayor who's a current cop. You got Caruso, what's his name, running for mayor in LA against Karen Bass and others, who is a massive developer. I think he developed the Grove, right? So you got these developers and law enforcement that are trying to support themselves to get in these seats, to make local decisions, to build for the wealthy.
And that's why they're playing chess and not checkers.
They are playing chess and not checkers. They are not playing. They are positioning themselves to get in these seats. And if you are of working class or poor working class, we've already been, and I'm saying we, right? Like folks have already been pushed out, and there's about to be another mass exodus, another mass push out because they are playing chess and not checkers. There's a couple things coming up, Melissa. Should we drop some of those now as we get ready to hit this 8 o'clock hour?
Yes. So one of the things that we're a week out from a really important election in our city. I have worked really, really hard to have these discussions in the background about our mayoral race. This is the first time that we've had it's been 12 years since we've had an election without an incumbent running. This is an important one because now we have 2 Black men that are running for the mayor of Long Beach, which is unprecedented. We should be excited and celebrating that. However, we need to vote en masse. I can't say that any further because what's happening as candidates have approached this election, they've approached it as, well, those people aren't really voting. These are the people that are voting. And we have to make a stance and in our vote, send a message to these candidates to let them know, oh no, we vote too. And we have power. Because they're not looking at, some of the candidates have actually said, well, I've already won because these people over here are not voting for me. So they're not even voting. So don't worry about that. But I'm just here to kind of reach out to you because, you're Black. So I'm just letting you know that in this environment in Long Beach, that the voting block that they're focused on is not our people, is not our demographic. So therefore, they're not even going to be speaking for us. So we really do need to vote en masse to show them that this is our vote and it's our time. So whoever you vote for, just know that it's time to show these numbers. We need to show these numbers like, oh my God, so-and-so, this Black people voted, 50,000 people voted versus, we need those numbers because they're really not looking at us for their vote at all.
Can I add to that?
We're voting.
I want to add to that after you, Cammie.
Yeah, no, I'm done. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add to that. I think that's a really important message. And I think it's not just vote, but it's vote and organize, right?
Yes.
Get involved with the group, organize. And also remember that we've got city council folks running, right? We didn't really touch on that, but there are some decent candidates running this in some districts. Kaylee and Carlos want to give you a shout out. There are some good candidates running. So also make sure that you're paying attention to those races as well, because they're really important also.
Sheila, you like somebody? Is it? Oh my God, wait.
Oh,
wait, hold on.
Hell froze over.
There's somebody that you like, Sheila. You better listen to this girl.
I like you, Cammy. You gonna run?
I wanted to echo what you
Nobody
said.
wants me
Cammy.
running for anything, and he's
I do. I want you running.
I want to echo what you said, Cammy. I think, for all those who are watching this now and in the replay, vote, because a lot of people are counting on you to not vote.
Yes.
Your vote will make an impact.
Especially in this race this time.
You have to vote.
I want to send this shout out to, speaking of just voting so our community, when you mentioned this earlier, I was thinking of this. Our community, when I think about our impacted community, folks who are, when I say impacted, I mean system impacted in any way, right? If you've been in jail for some BS long time ago, done an extensive amount of time, more than other non-Black people for the same crime type stuff, if we've been system impacted, it brings me deep joy when we're organized. And I'm saying system impacted. I haven't shared this, I don't think I've shared this publicly. I, as a teenager, was jailed for 6 months in a camp, right? So when I say we, that's why I say we, right? Not just because of all my cousins who have been caught up for most of their lives, coming home from doing 20 years for a bag of weed that's now legal in an industry that they can't even get access to, right? So I'm saying we, but I just want to say shout out to our hood council. I want to say, or street council. I know there was some name changes. I want to give a shout out to Reset, folks who have been bringing our hood together, that have been organizing our hood, our neighborhood, our street.
Ceasefire.
Ceasefire. Yes. Just a shout out to our street organizations who are organized, probably one of the most organized groups in our city, but because the state wants to create a monstrous narrative of them, right? They get a bad rap. We want to talk about the Black gangs, but we don't want to talk about the sheriff department gangs. What? How does that work, right?
Or the KKK or white supremacist gangs.
Or those gangs, right? So miss me. So, but just kudos, shout out to those who have been doing that work to organize our non-traditional formations in our communities, and thank you to them. We know that they're about to vote, and just for anyone from those squads who are paying attention, don't let the state exploit us, right? We can have differing views, we can have differing opinions and tactics, right? We all want to win. We all want to make sure that there's a restoration of harm. A restoration in our Black community from the harm, the systemic harm and historic harm caused in our communities. We all want that restoration. We all want to make sure that as resources come in, that our community in housing and wealth development for our youth, that there's an acknowledgement that reconciliation includes a reversal of that harm. And so we're all working towards that same thing. We might have a different vote. We might have a slightly different tactic, but what we can't do is to let the police associations, folks like Susie Price, folks like these developers, whoever those candidates are that, right, is in alignment with, I don't know, I just want to say this great push out, I want to call it, is not let us be exploited by those powers, by those systems, right? And by organizing, we're reducing that ability. So just kudos to those that have been doing that work.
Yeah, we're reducing it, and we're disrupting their chess game.
That's right.
Hey, Dawn, can you explain to folks why you said police associations and not police unions?
Oh, because they're not unions. Unions represent, they're not union. Oh my goodness, really? You're gonna pull that right now, Sheila?
Mm-hmm. Folks, you gotta let folks know. It's an education hour too.
Oh man, I'm so, I've been checked out for a little while, Sheila. I had to get my socio-emotional self together. But they're not unions represent our workers. Historically, the police associations or fraternities, fraternal orders of police, they go under different names in different states. They historically have been part of there's the AFL-CIO, the American Federation of Labor, and the AFL, American Federation of Labor, and the CIO, the Congress of Industrial Organizations. So on one side, you had working class, right? We have, our food industry, our transportation industry, we have healthcare workers, our working class. We want to be organized around our healthcare benefits, around our all of our working conditions, right? So some maybe folks feel like some unions aren't the best, but it's the best organized force that our working class people have, right? And then on the other side, and I think the police associations were with the Congress of Industrial Organizations. They were set in place to union bust. So when working class people were trying to organize their right to negotiate over their working conditions, the state were hiring police to come and break up those unions. There was a huge fight, probably around the 50s or so, between the AFL and the CIO around which side these police associations would be on, and they chose their side. They represent the state to protect property, hence why they're working with developers to continue to bankroll these local electoral seats to capitalize. So I hope that helps, Sheila.
It does. And I just want to point out too that they bully and bribe politicians, they own them, and they make sure that they get the votes that they want to continue to inflate their budgets.
Yep.
And then you end up with candidates who are running and you're like, I don't like this person, I don't like this person, I don't like this person, because they own all of these groups. Honestly, I wish that none of these candidates would get money from any corporation or any group like that. I wish that they could take that kind of money out of any kind of election.
Worse, Citizens United.
Mm-hmm. Like, I was just typing that in the chat.
We need to have a whole conversation about what Citizens United is, right? How corporations want to behave as if they're people and be able to.
No, they're corporations that are looking for their best interests and they're lobbyists at the end of the day. And what they want is these people's, developers want to develop in certain communities like Long Beach. I know in Long Beach specifically, you've seen the buildings going up in the 6th district. You've seen it going up.
They are putting people in these seats to be able to rezone.
Yes.
Right. Our neighborhood.
Notice how Dawn says, putting these people. It's a difference between the people putting them. It's the corporations and these developers that are putting them in those positions. Who heard of Cindy Allen before she ran? Who heard of her? What was she doing?
Robert Garcia.
So
that's the only person that knows.
Bob Foster is the one funding these campaigns. Yeah,
exactly. It's strategy. They're putting up their chess pieces. Anytime that you see the board, you see the board right there in front of your city council meeting. That's the board right there, and they're lining them up to bust up our cities.
Nobody can afford to even live in those units because they are so darn expensive, and a bunch of them are still vacant.
I want to invite us to start to close out a little bit with some final remarks. I'm going to use three. I'm going to drop three final remarks, and then we could just move this around the table and start to bring this on home until next time. We can have this on here again. The way
we can talk all day. We've done this
all the time, right? We just decided to have it public with y'all time on into the conversation. Have them on your own. So my final three is around rezoning. Faith community that want to be a part of these conversations about a moral voice in the work that's in the shenanigans, in the work, in the growing, in the gentrifying, right? We need a moral compass to some degree. And so if you belong to a church that has a clergy leadership that is about educating and empowering their congregation, just hit me up in the chat or message me, and we can work with y'all to include you in this process. Rezoning is happening, y'all. Like, they are putting these candidates in seats to make decisions to rezone our district. So right now, the area that they want to rezone is the area along Anaheim Street, but spans from the south all the way down to 10th Street and to the north up to PCH. It kind of gerrymanders a little bit to the north around that. But y'all, on the east siders, let me just say, if you live on the east side, it's about to be rebuilt, rezoned and then rebuilt. So as I was saying, from 10th to PCH, and then from the east to, I think, Redondo Street, all the way to the west to Magnolia. They are in process of rezoning, getting ready to rezone that area. So if you're interested in following more about what that means, what that is going to look like, they will be building up. I think it's an upwards of, like, because if you look now, right through Cambodia Town and other parts, I think it's like, maybe 2 stories, but they will be able to build an upwards of, like, don't quote me, y'all, I don't have receipts on this at the moment, but it's like 5 stories, 4 or 5 stories, I believe.
Well, they have one right there on PCH and Martin Luther King right now going up.
And there's that building that's happening too, right? And here's the thing, because developers are pushing their agenda, we want to be organized in our community to try to mitigate whatever their corporate and wealthy agendas are, to make sure that there is some affordable housing, that it isn't a continuation of the push out that has been. So if you live in those areas in particular, again, hit us, Ms. Melissa, I don't know how we're asking folks to get involved, but I think most folks following, drop a message that you're interested and we'll hit you up, or get in my DM and I'll follow up with you. And then the last one for me, another way to get engaged is, like, we can't let them control our budget. We can't. So if we're not showing up, then we're telling them that they can control the budget. So, they put together our city budget every year. And we have a people's budget. A lot of you know and follow the people's budget. That is a coalition of organizations and individuals, residents that have been part of this effort for the last several years. Where here we are again, because every year the budget's being redone and we're organizing now again. So Saturday, mark your calendar, June 11th, 12 o'clock p.m., North Long Beach, Heaton Park, be there. We will be having all these conversations about how we can be participatory in the defining, the reimagining, the reprioritizing of our city budget, so that half of our dollars are not going to police, so that they can invest in developers to continue to push us out. Don't complain about nothing if you're not going to show up, right? So come out Saturday, June 11th, 12 o'clock. Those are my 3. Boom.
And your 3, Sheila? Oh, sorry.
I'm gonna hop in there and
go ahead,
say, I think it should be legal for these big corporations to be able to buy single family housing. I think it should be illegal, and I don't know how we can band together to. I mean, I understand the petition process, but in the city of Long Beach, I really feel like eminent domain and a law change needs to happen, because that would immediately resolve the homeless issue. Because these nameless, faceless, huge corporations are driving the inflation that we're seeing. And the inflation is here, and something has to change, because it just does not make sense for all this wealth to be concentrated in the hands of the few when we have tools that we the people can exercise to change things.
And Sheila?
I just got one. I was talking about the sheriff and how corrupt they are, like every other police department. There has been a push by Los Angeles County residents for about a year now to get a charter amendment passed that would allow for a few things. One, for the sheriff to be able to be impeached, and two, for there to be greater control and transparency afforded to the Board of Supervisors and the Civilian Oversight Commission of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department. And there's a pretty strong possibility that hopefully we will be able to get this on the ballot with a vote after the general election. And so we might be calling on folks to pressure your supervisor, because Janice Hahn, our supervisor here in Long Beach, is not on board with this and does not think that this is something that we need. She wants it to be left up to the voters, but she needs to do her job so that we as voters can then vote on it. So please look out for that notice. We will be hitting y'all up when it is to that point, so that we can drive calls not only to Janice Hahn's office, but to every office and every board of supervisors to make sure that this gets on the ballot, because it is incredibly important. And it's not just about Villanueva, it's about that whole office in general.
And for me, I have one thing that that I meditate on a daily basis and I wake up to, and it's the fact that there were so many people that in the late 80s or 80s and 90s that went into prison, war on drugs, 30, 40 years, 20-year sentences, 30-year sentences, 40-year sentences. They're coming home now. And they're coming home in mass. And there are a need for a huge number of our men and women that have been in prison that are in need of housing, because when they are released, they might not be released to LA County. They can only come into other counties. So they need housing. They need mental health support. They need financial support. And I have spoken to one of the candidates for district attorney, who, yes, I'm not a fan of district attorneys. And he's even labeled himself the gang district attorney. But he had a conversation with me that was very important, that he wants to be able to be in a position to support these men and women when they do come home. And as a community, we have to embrace that. We have to brace for it, and we have to embrace them as they come home. It's something that I've spoken to Dawn about on a regular basis, but it's one thing that I'm sure that with community organization, that we find a way to be able to support these men and women. Many of these men and women have come home and hit the ground running, especially the support with Reset. Shout out to Rock. I think Rock is an incredible human being that has come home and done more work than I've seen out of the community in less than 4 months' time. He's a beautiful and special person who is helping support the community financially and going, toe to toe with some of these community groups, and also with the city council. He's spoken to many people in the city council, and he's like, I call bullshit. And I love his energy. And those are the type of people that we need as we move forward in the community of Long Beach.
Yeah.
And Melissa?
I'm thinking, after having spent the day with a family member in an urgent care for mental health, just for us to remember to take care of our mental health and well-being. I think, as I think about our ancestors now who were killed in the Buffalo shooting, and just the last 2 years in particular, the constant influx of news of people who look like us being murdered, mostly by the hands of police or people who want to be police. We've been through a lot. We've been through a lot since slavery times. Like, I was reading an article that we're still experiencing like the muscle memory. We still are experiencing things physically in our bodies from our great grands. These issues impact us. So I'd say just remember to find ways to take care of your mental health, the young people around you, they've had a really tough couple of years, and I'd say particularly if they were Black, really this has been a very difficult time for them to be, for their brains to be forming and them to be thinking about how to live in this world. And I'm sorry I didn't have the numbers to share, but the data does show related to who votes in Long Beach. It's not people who look like us. It's not people even in our age range who look like us. As Black folks, we need to vote. It's really important. Just a couple of votes have actually changed local elections. And locally, we can make a real impact based on our vote. So think about your plan. Someone asked me yesterday in a text, how am I going to vote? I'm going to use a Dropbox. So think about, are you going to use a Dropbox? Do you know where one is? We've got the link up here that we'll share. Are you going to ride with somebody? Are you going to mail your ballot? It has to be done by June 7th. So engage and let's take care of ourselves and one another.
And so we need to, at this time, honor those ancestors that have gone on and during Buffalo. We can revisit that. If you can, Queen Mawkins, can you read through the names?
I cannot because I don't have their name.
The link is in the chat.
Okay.
Melissa just sent it.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Tammy, for that. Yes, man. So we opened up. We opened up this conversation with just a little prayer for our ancestors to move through us, and we're welcoming in our newest ancestors. In my numbness, in my own, I'm a little desensitized, right? And I have to remind myself, for those who we do this work for daily, that we stay engaged, that we stay mindful, that we stay intentional and conscious in this work for. And so that continues for Drury, age 33, for Margus Morrison, age 52. And I'm sorry, that's Roberta Drury. For Andre McNeil, age 53. For Aaron Salter, age 55. For Geraldine Taylor, age 62. For Celestine Cheney, age 65. For Hayward Patterson, age 67. For Catherine Macy, age 72. For Pearl Young, age 77. And Ruth Whitfield, age 86. Roberta was the youngest of the bunch, and we just want to call them in. May they rest in peace. May we continue this work in their honor.
Ashe.
Have a great evening, y'all. Thank you for joining us tonight. Come back if we decide to
do this on election day.
Oh, we might have to have an election day. We might have to have this on election day. Have these conversations a little more openly. So have a good night, everybody.
Bye, y'all.
Good night.